And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I really like trick-taking games. And this one had a fun theme to it. It's called Heroes and Tricks. Now, Heroes and Tricks has kind of a fantasy theme to it, but what Heroes and Tricks does is this box here. This is one of those cool boxes with the magnetic clasp, but this box is actually used in the game. In fact, one of the selling points for this game was, hey, you could play this game while standing in line or something. Just play a trick-taking game passing around the box because you're playing your tricks into the box itself. Here's how it plays. There's a play deck of cards, and these cards are made up of different numbers. So you're going to see that there's going to be numbers on these cards that go from 1 to 8. You'll also notice there's 4 different colors: red, yellow, green, blue. Each color is split into 2 suits. You can see here that red is split between poker chips and cards. Green is between dice, dodecahedrons, and cards. Yellow is meeples and the dodecahedrons, and so on and so forth. If you forget, there's a card that you can put in the middle of the table that tells you. So there is basically, instead of there being 4 suits, there's essentially 8 suits in this game. A bunch of heroes are put into this box, and this box is part of the game. And so these heroes are going to be in the back of the box, and you can see the heroes here basically are going to match one of the colors and suits in the game. And the goal is to get as many different heroes as you possibly can. There's also gear at the beginning of each round, or if you're playing just one round at the beginning of the game, you're going to get 3 of these. Some of these are played in a trick, and some are played before a trick. Like here, take a random gear card from another player. You may look at the hero card for this trick, etc. So you're going to deal out a certain number of cards from the play deck, and a certain number of gear cards, and this is based on the number of players, and then play starts. When it's the first person to go is going to open a box, and they're going to take the hero card out, and they're going to look at it, and they're going to stick it here in front of the trick. So they see this as Slow Turn Tao, who escaped from Kung Fu Panda, and they are a blue poker chip. All right, they're then going to look at their hand. So let's say this is their hand, and pick a card. So they're probably going to pick this one. It's a blue poker chip. It matches, so they'll put that in here. They then pass this to the next player. The next player opens the box and looks and sees the blue poker chip. Well, this person here decides that they're going to play, if you win the trick, take this card as an extra point. So they're going to play one of their gear cards in there. They're also going to look at their hand. So they look at their hand and go, blue poker chip. Well, all right, we'll try. We can't win it if we do this, but maybe it's not a blue poker chip. Maybe he's lying, so they play this card instead. And each person's going to play a card with possibly a gear card. When it gets to the last person, that person will take out the cards that are in there, and they're going to splay them out. So in this case, we look. The hero is a blue poker chip, and whoever played the highest blue poker chip wins, which is the 5, so they win the trick. If no blue poker chip had been played, then whoever plays the highest blue card would win the trick. So you go to color. If nobody played a blue card at all, then we would go to whoever played the highest poker chip card, which nobody did. In that case, we go to whoever played the highest card. So the 8 wins it. So that's how you decide who wins the trick. That person is going to get the hero, and they will start the next round. We will keep going until everyone has only 2 cards left in their hand of the play cards. Those cards are discarded, and you see who won the most heroes, because that's the person who has won the game. If there's a tie, then whoever has the most shared colors of the same hero, like if I have 3 blues, then I could win the game. Or you can play the extended game, which is essentially 3 rounds of doing that, and you add your points together. So the game is also going to depend on these different gear cards. When you play this in the trick, if your play card would be the worst in the trick, you win. The player that wins this trick takes this card as an extra point. Add an extra hero to this trick. Both are won independently. You become the lead player and draw the hero to start the trick. Play proceeds from here. You play that before it starts. So these cards are going to affect the game. That's basically how you play Heroes and Tricks. Now, as usual, pencil first games, the quality of the cards, the art, the box itself, everything is really good quality. This is a nice looking game. I'm not totally sold on the, hey, let's use meeples and dice and cards and poker chips, wink, wink. We're using game pieces as suits, but that's not that big of a deal. The problem is everything else is a big deal. This is just not a good game. Now, the saving grace of the game is to be, hey, we can pass it around by standing up in line, but what do you do with the card you win? Do you stick it in your pocket? Do you hold it in your hand? Yes, you could technically play this standing up, but that's not that big of a deal. It's still kind of a pain in the neck. And here's the deal. This box, it's cool, putting a card in, passing it to the next person. You will find how old that gets really fast. Stick a card in, pass it to you, stick a card in. That's like the antithesis of a trick-taking game. In a trick-taking game, everyone just plays a card really quickly. So this is kind of a thing. After a while, we're like, you know what? Forget the box. We'll just put the cards in a pile and pass that pile around. And you just look at the card the last person played. Now, granted, if you play a gear card, it doesn't work as well, so you need the box for that. But still, it does make the game a little bit smoother. The game has 8 different suits. Now, see, I understand that they're like, ooh, let's change trick-taking. And here's the deal. With a trick-taking game, you change something. And it's an interesting idea. What they decided to do with this game was change like 4 things. First, let's have not just colors and numbers, but let's add suits that are separate from the colors. Why are you doing that? Just to make it, different? Then it's like, let's play the cards one at a time where you can only see the last card played. Okay, why are we doing that? To be different? Oh, let's add in these equipment cards, which will change the way that the game plays. Okay, well now you're starting to do too much, really, and that's really what it is. And to the end, this game is just a humongous, chaotic mess. It really is. You get the card from last person, and it's like a green poker chip. That means nothing to me. I don't know if the hero could be a blue dodecahedron. I don't know because I have no information. And you don't have to follow suit. I don't know what cards are in their hand. That might be the only card they have. Who knows? So I just have to say, okay, I guess I'll match their color if possible and their thing if possible. But I don't know. They could have played an equipment card that changed things too. It's just a mess. So you pass it around, pass it around, pass it around, and someone's like, yay, I won. And when you're done winning, everyone looks and says, what did you do to win? Just played the cards I got? Yeah, there's a drafting phase like there is in most trick-taking games where you pass equipment and some cards to the person next to you, and that gives you a little bit of information. But trick-taking games should be smooth and fast and interesting. This one is not smooth at all. It adds too many different types of cards, so that your display of cards is probably not going to match the hero. It adds those extra special cards, which are funny and interesting, but adding that to that display of cards just very, very chaotic. And then you don't even know what cards are being played half the time because you can only see the last card being played. Now, I thought that would be interesting. When I heard that, I'm like, ooh, you can only see the last card being played. I like that idea. But that should have been the only thing they changed. And that would be an interesting game. You can only see the last card being played. I would play a game of like Hearts, for example, where you could only see the card that the person before you played. That would be interesting. You'd have to keep track of things in your head. I don't know if I'd like it, but it sounds interesting. But then if you said, oh, but we're also throwing in special cards, we're throwing in different types of cards, and there's cards you can play before the trick, and also you got to use this box to pass things around. It just fails on a lot of levels. It looks great, but it is not a trick-taking game that I want to play again. So maybe some other folks will like it, but not for me. Heroes and tricks. Dice Tower Judgment, too much and yet too little.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.